Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss and internet shitlords. And here's Meatball. I don't know if you can, well, you can see most of Meatball there. Hi, Meatball. Hello, Meatball. We've got a Meatball there, anyway. Meatball's been a grumpy cat lately. It's very cold here, and she's not happy with it at her age. So, today I wanted to talk to you about a topic that we've covered in the past, but the perspective that I wanted to put on it here is significant. We have seen these last few days some very strong signs that there is a lot of pushback to the kind of ridiculous policies that Wizards of the Coast and other areas of the community, of the gaming community of leftists have been promoting against regular gaming. So there's a very big backlash against the art in the new 1D&D Player's Handbook. There was also a lot of objections that led to a successful result of removing the crit awards from Gen Con when they were promoting. Yeah, I mean, it's sad that we have to consider that a surprising victory that a leftist awards show that was going to be openly anti-Semitic was successfully rebuffed. You know, you would think that would have just been any other decade, it would have been a non-starter. There was no way if somebody came in up to Gen Con and said, hey, we're going to do an award show for RPGs, but we're not going to let Jews in, right? Like, if they'd said that, they'd be out right away, like gone. No questions, straight to jail, you know, that sort of thing. But nowadays, that's a major victory for us when we managed to stop them. Nevertheless, though, my cynicism aside, there is a lot of signs that people are pretty much sick of wokeism, and so it is time here to review the proper and correct perspective that one should have when it comes to the idea of what is real inclusivity in RPGs. Okay, so one of the tactics that the left has used had been to show up into some kind of an activity-based hobby, let's say, or pastime or entertainment, and redefined what it meant to be involved in that as not a hobby or a pastime or an entertainment, but a community. And that community was no longer defined, because if it's a hobby or a pastime or an entertainment, then your involvement in it is defined by you either participating in that hobby, engaging in that pastime, or consuming that entertainment. That would be what would define you, right? You are a Batman comics fan because you buy and read Batman comics. Okay, and the way that the left would then engage in their infiltration process would be to say, no, there is a wider Batman comics community consisting of people who read Batman, people who do not read Batman, people who have not read Batman yet, and people who will never read Batman, but feel a sort of feeling of sympathy towards Batman comics. And all these people need to be considered equally. And of course, certain classifications of people should get more weight than others based on things like skin color and gender and sexual preference. And in this way, by redefining these activities as communities, they were able to get a fake virtue capture of the votes, so to say, of potentially million. Like they could say, well, you know, in let's say, in miniature wargaming, the miniature wargaming has not been responsive to the black community of people who are who are part of the community of miniature wargaming, because how could they not be, right? So therefore, when I let's presume in this case a white woman, when I talk to you about what we must do, I am speaking on behalf of 2 billion black people in the world, right? It's not just me talking because I'm an asshole. It's me talking with a whole bunch of imaginary people that have no interest and do not even know what the tabletop wargaming community is, right? But I am pretending to speak for them and therefore giving myself much more weight and influence by doing so, right? That was always the tactic. And so the argument, if people tried to fight back against that, was to say that you are not being inclusive, right? That whatever the hobby is, so let's get it back to where I want to be talking about, which is the tabletop RPG hobby. You've checked out here, Baptism of Fire, #1 best-selling OSR game for 8 weeks solid. Fantastic game. These are my 2 biggest books, incidentally. So you got Baptism of Fire, and then over there, The Invisible College, which is not #1 bestseller, but it's a little more niche because it's a modern occult game, not a fantasy game. But it's very well worth checking out. Old School Companion here, which is a collection of material to make your games more medieval authentic, and it can be used in any OSR product, but of course it's certainly parts of it are in Baptism of Fire. For example, the expanded critical tables that are in Old School Companion now became part of the official rules in Baptism of Fire. But there's lots of other rules in there that can be of great interest. So be sure to check those sorts of products out. The links to all my products are in the description below. If you click more on the little app thing, and you'll see all the links to everywhere that you would want to go. And if you've got Baptism of Fire already, and you were not aware of it, the first supplement to Baptism of Fire is out in the form of the Pundit Files number 14, which is a medieval authentic guide to Poznan, the second city of Greater Poland, the commercial hub. It's got a layout of what the city was actually like. It's based on, all of it is based on historical sources, right? It's what the city was actually like, different groups and people and organizations in it, adventure queues of all different sorts, and a guide to the mysterious oak wood that is near the city of Poznan, that is a place of strange magic and unique flora and fauna. And that's also real, by the way. Maybe I'll talk more about it at some point. So check that out. Check out also the rest of the Pundit Files. Our current issue is number 15, which is Weird Magical Items. And it's a collection of 29 new magic items from the last 5 years of my 11-year-long Last Sun campaign. So if you want some really unusual magic items that are, they're totally badass, but very strange, a lot of them, you should check out that product. All of the Pundit Files books are on PDF only. They're at the Red Room store. You can click the link. It's in the description there. You go to the Red Room store. 15 issues so far. You can buy any of them for about $3.50. Okay, so if you can get $3.50, you can buy yourself a Pundit File. All right. So in the role-playing game hobby, we have people who are saying, well, no, hang on. We have been playing this game for our entire adult lives, often since we were children or what have you, or at least teenagers, and this is how we do it, and it's fine. We don't mind if people play. We want people to play for sure, but you're coming in here and telling us we have to be the ones to change it, and they're like, yeah, of course you have to be the one to change it, because RPGs are for everyone. That is where the big lie comes in. No, they're not. Neither RPGs nor any other pastime or hobby or almost anything else you can imagine is for everyone. There are very, very few things that are for everyone. And certainly very few things in this world that are for everyone. There are some things that maybe everyone might want, but that doesn't make it so. And here is the thing. Now, people will say, oh, well, but then you're just being a gatekeeper. No, because here is what is true. And this is where the lie is so, you will see the subtlety of the lie that they have been pushing and what we should be pushing instead. Okay? Because the actual truth is that RPGs are for anyone. Okay? RPGs are for anyone, not for everyone. So how does that get defined? So anyone, regardless of who they are, if they are interested in RPG play as it is, they're interested in the hobby, they can be a part of it. Right? If you are willing to do what it is right now that the hobby is, you can be a part of it. You can learn it. You can master it. You can end up writing books of it. You can end up running decades-long campaigns of it. And there is nothing outside of a willingness to participate in the hobby that is a condition of play there. So it doesn't really matter, not at the level hobby-wide anyways, of what your skin color is, your gender, your sexual preference, any of those things. Those are all stupid things that nobody cares about in the hobby. What they care about is, do you actually play, right? Are you actually a gamer? And if you are, then you're gonna be welcome. If you're not, you're not. Okay? So that is essentially the situation. There is no real exclusion going on. There is an absolute inclusion of people that want to be a part of what the thing really is. Okay? But the notion that RPGs are for everyone is the opposite of that. It's suggesting that unquestioned hordes of imaginary people, because it's not going, remember, that's also the other side of this trick, is that it's not, there are no matter how many powerful looking overweight black women are in the new player's handbook art, there are no untapped resources of millions of overweight black women who have been just desperate to play D&D and were waiting for this moment. That does not exist. And it will not exist. No amount of fat black women in fantasy art in the player's handbook is going to cause black women, fat or otherwise, to suddenly want to play a game that they have no interest in. The only reason those things are there is not for those black women, but rather for the white leftist Marxists who get to feel like white saviors for the most part, for being this inclusive, and at the same time allows them to claim to speak for these millions or billions of imaginary fat black women that they feel must be included in the hobby. Okay? And that is what RPGs are for everyone really means. But even in a more direct, practical level, the suggestion that RPGs are for everyone is stupid, right? Because that implies that the RPG hobby itself becomes nothing. It becomes undefinable, because if it's not that a person, if an RPG is for anyone, that means that any one person who wants to become an RPG gamer has to learn the ropes of how to play RPGs and has to join the culture. If you say it is for everyone, and that means that everybody's a part of the culture, everybody has to say, that means that what actually has to happen is that the RPG hobby is diluted into nothingness. It becomes something that has no ability to maintain or define any kind of limits for itself. And it is just turned into whatever the loudest noises or the most powerful propagandists want it to be, which is, of course, the goal, right? That's the purpose of it. It's like, this is what if you have unlimited immigration into a hobby by people who have no actual loyalty to that hobby and who don't want what's best for the hobby, but just want to exploit it for their own ends as much as they can, and even if it leaves it a dead, dried husk, then that is a recipe for complete and total destruction, which is why they've made orcs look like Mexicans, right? That's pretty much the deal there too, right? These political messages, So if this is what they're doing, it is an absolutely self-serving motive. And the right way to respond to this is to make it clear that RPGs are for anyone. They're not for everyone. Yeah, RPGs are something that anybody has the potential to do if they want to do it. And that means that nobody else is necessary to speak for anyone, because no one is being excluded. No one individual is being excluded. And if you start talking about excluding groups, then you're just a liar, right? Because there is no group element to inclusion in a hobby. This isn't a culture. This is a hobby. So in that hobby, any one person who is willing to be a part of the hobby is welcome. And no groups are welcome. There is no anybody who's coming in with an outside agenda, whether it's political, as it has been for many years now, or whether it's religious, or whether it's some other kind of social agenda or a profit agenda that is outside of the hobby itself. Whatever those are, those people aren't welcome. Okay, that collective element is not welcome. So that's the secret to how to understand inclusion in the hobby. And the next time a leftist talks to you about inclusion in the hobby, make sure you use that context, that the hobby is for anyone, but not for everyone. That's everything I wanted to talk about today. I hope you like this video. If you like it, please share it anywhere you think people will find it useful, or anywhere people will be pissed off about it. And hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Be sure to check out all of my products, especially, of course, Baptism of Fire, which is just the number of amazing posts I've gotten from people about, how much they like the game, about, there's one guy said I'm the new Gary Gygax. I think that's a bit much, but I do appreciate that. I did chuckle at that. And all of the, interesting things people are already starting to do with it. I thought that's fantastic. Some people are like, oh, well, the pundit probably doesn't like that because he's all medieval authentic, so he'll want it to be played for that. No, not at all. If you want to play it in a fantasy world, that's great. If you want to modify Baptism of Fire to run Dune or something, go ahead. Whatever works. That's part of the OSR ethos, right? That shows that you are someone who is a part of this hobby. You have understood the correct way. But yeah, you're welcome to do whatever you want with the game. And in fact, I love it when people tell me about crazy stuff they do with the game. Or, if they've just played it straight and loved it, A lot of people said about doing solo play with it, which I hadn't really thought of at the time. But obviously, yes, all the tables that I put in this game that are meant to make absolutely seamless sandbox play for the DM, where he doesn't have to do almost any effort except just follow the tables, are obviously also something that'll work really, really well for solo play, which is something I don't really approve of. I'm not a big fan of the idea of the solo play, but for those who like it, apparently it works really well. So anyways, check that out. Check out all my products, and share the video everywhere you can. That's everything for today. Currently smoking. This is a Stanwell Deluxe plus Argento Natural.